Moose, I'm very excited to talk to you, but I think before you say anything, the biggest question I think on everyone's mind is,
where's Moose?
Yo, I can't. That's a good one. That's actually really good. I heard about the Where's Moose. I heard about it. I was downstairs making food, man. Right now, I'm in Toronto, back at home, with family. So that's nice. But in that moment right there, I was in the kitchen making food, waiting for the absolute onslaught coming from Steph.
Wow, that's really wild.
That's wild.
It's really wild.
That's wild. That's wild. Yo, she got you all the sound bites, huh?
Right?
She did.
Moose, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Honestly, I've been go the past little bit. I was in Montreal a few days ago, going to a concert. I saw some other friends. In a little town called London here near Toronto. I've been going. So right now this week I'm kind of relaxing, getting back into just breathing, not being so adamant on going out and seeing the world. So it's been a little bit stressful getting back into real life, but I feel better now. And I think this week's going to be nice to kind of just decompress and relax a little bit.
Yeah, that's good. It's definitely, it's usually a challenge. I think, you spend, it's really more than 70 days, right? Cause you've got, pre stuff as well. So it's like a long time separate from the world. And then to have to like go right back in, it's like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot, but I've been feeling better. Like initially I thought I was all good and hunky dory, but I realized that I'm not, and I just need to kind of, take a step back from everything. But life has been great, man. Honestly, I can't complain. Like it's been such a whirlwind seeing friends and family and all that stuff.
Awesome. All right. So infamously, your preparation for coming on to Big Brother was that you rewatched season 6.
Yes.
The one season you had already watched.
Yes, exactly. So my thing, I don't know. The thing is with that is because I was like, okay, if I'm going to rewatch a season, I might as well know the one season I watched really well. So that way I don't seem like a faker as dumb as I know that is now, because people thought I was a faker anyway. I was going to watch other seasons and like really, really like grind into being like in game mode and study tape as I see it. But the things with me is that because I hadn't been a super fan before, I didn't want to start psychoanalyzing everybody else's seasons and then reflecting it to what I should be doing. I was going in as somebody that I saw as a newbie compared to other people who have watched the show. So I said, I might as well just stay that way. Let me learn as I go, instead of being like, well, this happened. If I were to have watched other seasons, it would have been maybe one more, maybe two if I was lucky based on my time. So I'm telling myself, am I going to watch one other season and then use the information in those two seasons as my, base level of information to try to be smart in the game? I thought, no, let me just rewatch the one season I watched. I'll go into the game. I'll learn as it goes. I'm not too stressed about learning other people's seasons, because our season's going to be different and we're going to have different people and it's not going to be reflective in the same way the other one was. So that's the way I kind of saw it. I only did watch that one season. I wish I did watch one more, honestly, but I think it kind of helped a little bit.
Yeah. Well, so the funny thing is that you come in having watched the one season, and I don't think a single person in the house ever believed that you'd only watched one season.
Never. Nobody believed me at any point.
I mean, it was like a weekly basis that people were like, okay, Moose, now we've developed some trust. You can tell me you've seen more than season 6.
Man, it was every week in the backyard, in the kitchen. Funnily enough, even when I was sitting on the block and I was heading home or heading to jury, JC Lynn sits beside me and goes, okay, Moose, look, you're pretty much going home. You can tell me now. Have you? And I was like, no, I haven't watched more than one season. I'm telling you guys. And I get it. It just seems weird to have only watched one season and be in there. But you're right. Honestly, Taran, every single week, somebody would just be like, okay, you can tell me now. Or like, Moose, you can tell. I'm like, yo, this Even if I had gone the other way, I would have been even more in trouble because they'd be like, okay, so you're a super fan. So you obviously know what happened week 4, season 7. I'm like, no, I don't. So that was my thing. I felt like I could have hopped on the lie and been like, yeah, I am a big fan. But then when people start asking me things and then I'm not a big fan, I would have been, it was a double-edged sword. I was getting in trouble no matter what I said.
Yeah, it was a tough spot for sure. So you come into the game. You've seen season 6, and I think the funny thing about you seeing season 6 is that, like, from the fan perspective, one of the seasons that, like, the edit sort of represented what was actually happening the least. And so, like, you know, there are a lot of things happening that didn't really make the episodes, and so you know, so you come onto the show. You've got season 6 in your back pocket. What is your initial reaction? You know, day 1, you're meeting everyone. What's your impressions?
Like I think as all people are on day 1, I was honestly just, you know, pretty not blown away, but just enveloped into this social setting. I'm the type of person that loves networking, going to events like that, meeting new people. So I was very comfortable in that environment, but still very, you know, shocked at all these people that were here and we're here to play this game. And I wasn't even thinking about the game, obviously, at that point. Then you have your first game conversation, and that's when you kind of like, okay, like this is real. You know, we had our HOH comp that night, and which also made it kind of real. But otherwise, like, my first impressions of going in was like, this is going to be fun. Honestly, that's the way I saw it. I'm like, these are really cool people. This is going to be a fun game. You know, I love playing games, as I'm sure most people do that come into the show, you know, board games, Catan, things like that, like, you know, Uno, card games. That's the type of person I am. So I was like, this is going to be a fun game and we have fun players. So let's get after it. My first impressions were kind of decent, and I think I was able to be a little comfortable after securing that safety. So it allowed me to really go into the first weeks stress-free-ish, not entirely stress-free, but stress-free-ish, to be like, let me get my bearings right.
Mm-hmm. And you also see Kyle, right? Who you recognized him immediately, right?
Immediately, at the top of the stairs, I recognized him. Yeah.
What were your thoughts seeing Kyle?
I was like, damn. Honestly, that's what I first said in my head. I was like, damn. And funnily enough, I don't know what it was. And people might not believe me, but in my head, before we walking in the house, I don't know what it was. I had a feeling I was going to know someone, and I didn't know why. The whole time I kept replaying it in my head. I'm like, there's no way I'm actually going to know someone. But I was like, I have a feeling that I'm going to go in there and I'm just going to know somebody. Like, I'm just going to know somebody. And sure enough, I did. So I was I was like, okay. I wasn't even thinking about our game relationship. I wasn't thinking about any of that stuff right away. I just like wanted to quell our, you know, previous history. So I pulled him into the pantry and I was like, Kyle, do not tell anybody we know each other right now. Like, we're deading this right now, because I don't know what kind of game player he is. I don't know what his whole vibe was. So I was like, let's just get our story straight off the bat so we can just move forward. And we did that for the first 2 weeks or whatever it was. But seeing Kyle, I was like, oh my gosh, this is someone I know. Like, this is okay for me. Like, there's comfortability here. Let's get our story straight and then let's move together. I wasn't like, let's make a final 2. I wasn't like, let's work together for the whole game. It was none of that. Which, you know, maybe it should have been, but I was just kind of like, all right, this is going to be a little easier now because I know someone and I can be able to talk to them. That's the way I kind of saw it initially when I saw Kyle, you know?
Yeah. Well, so what was the history? Like, how well did you know him? Like, what kind of history was it?
Honestly, we didn't know each other that well. Like, I used to see him at parties every once in a while. We work a couple of productions in our program. You know, productions like sports productions. We would do like live games. I would host the halftime show. Sometimes he would be working in the studio. Sometimes he'd be doing camera. He'd done on-air stuff as well. You know, so we knew each other. Like, we knew each other by name. We knew each other by face. We'd say hi to each other like in between classes or whatever in the hallway. You know, kind of wave. Never really spent time together one-on-one. Never really hung out in big like in groups. It was merely just if we went to the same, you know, social events of all the people that were in our program, that's when we would see each other. But we didn't have like a deep like connection of knowing each other for like a long period of time or anything like that.
Yeah. Because so you know, we'll get there. We'll get to Kyle's HOH, but you know, I think one of the things that we were trying to parse through when it came to him and you is that it seemed like he didn't trust you. Like there was like, I don't know if there's something had happened or if there was any kind of like reason that he might not have trusted you prior to the game.
Yeah.
Is that just like you have no idea, or you think it was all in the game?
No, I think it was all in the game, man. Honestly, like our real world relationship was normal, like as any acquaintances would be. Nothing ever happened. I think that, and again, I think we'll get into it that what happened then, but I honestly just think that that week just kind of opened his eyes to do something big, and doing it with somebody that would be very, very again, like it would be a big move to do something like that, right? For yourself, for the game, for your legacy, all those sort of things. So I think that's what it was. But prior to that, like, nah, man, like I was all good with that guy. I was like, we had a secret alliance in me. So again, I've watched a few episodes, so I'm seeing that Herman was also in that group. But initially me, Gino, him, and Marty had a secret four, and they were a little skeptical of me because I was riding the middle, quote unquote, because I had been, every time we'd be in the room together, I would be out of there. I'm like, okay, we're having this, things are good. We have this conversation, boom, I'm gone. Because everybody was associating him, Gino, and Marty, Kyle, Gino, and Marty. They're together, they're working together. So I was like, you guys are my main priority. Like, don't get me wrong, you were my number ones, but if I get lumped into this four, this whole secret is gone. Like there's gonna be no secrecy here. So I think it was that as well. Combined with what had happened this week, that he was like, why is Moose so consistently running away from us and being seen with us in public? And I was like, because it is a secret. I want it to be a secret. I don't want anybody to know that we're working together.
Yes. So yeah, here in week one, you see a Kyle. Herman is going to win the HOH pretty quickly.
Yes.
What is the order in which, like, because obviously the alliance with Marty forms, the Savage Seven is going to form.
Right.
It seems, especially in the episodes, that you're working very closely with Herman on his HOH. We didn't have feeds for the first week, so we're kind of beholden to the episodes. But what was your perspective on it?
Okay, so funnily enough, and Herman knows this, I didn't want Herman to win his thing.
Yeah.
Because I was like, because I had kind of been relationships with not all the other people that were playing in that, but I like Tanisha, I like Gino because we had that little four. I liked Summer and JC Lynn. I was like, we can have a conversation if she wins HOH. But Herman was the one guy that I was like, oh man, like I don't know how I feel about this dude. Like we'll see how he feels. So he won his door thing, and I'm like, all right, looks like he's a friend now. And then I won my buzzer. And then Josh won the little beanbag competition, and we were on stage together and we were talking, and it was just like, we kind of got a good vibe, Josh, him, Herman, and I, and we were like, I like us three, like, let's just keep this conversation going. I had a conversation with Herman in the HOH room that kind of opened up my eyes to the game, where he was like, listen, man, you're a big social player. I can tell right now, but you need to peel back a little bit. Like, stop giving everyone information. Start taking some information from people. You're going to be a big social presence and you're going to be a big social threat. That's fine. But I just want to help you out. So once Herman had that conversation with me, I'm like, hey, this guy is a real one. He's really cool. I want to work with him. So I was working with him. I think Josh and I were just very comfortable because we had safety that week. So going into that HOH room, not that there were no consequences, but there was no consequences of what we would say. Put up this person, put up that person. I was trying to actually give Herman advice based on what I saw. It didn't even have to do with my game about trying to make something happen for me. It was just, we were working together because he liked us. We all liked each other and we all had safety. So it was easy for us to have conversation all the time. We were working closely, but it was just because we had that safety. There was no like, yo, we really like each other, or like, yo, let's really have this big sort of whatever thing that we should work together in the long term of the game. But Herman and I were not that close in week one, as it might have been made to seem.
Mm-hmm. You also, in your portion of the HOH competition, you chose to eliminate Kevin, right? Like that was part of it. When I talked to Kevin, he mentioned that he felt like he had a decent relationship with you, and that I think you explained to him afterward that you picked him because you felt like he would be the least mad at you.
Yes, exactly. Which is true. I was like, okay, I talked to this guy and we're cool. That's all good. I guess subconsciously part of me was just like, he looks like a smart dude, glasses and all. But it was genuinely that. I'm like, who's going to not want to target me because I eliminated them in this comp? That was literally the way I saw it, because again, newbie. I didn't know what I was doing. I was asking people if I had a target on my back. I'm like, is Kevin going to target me now for the rest of the game? I was asking people that I didn't know, right? I was genuinely so, and obviously that's naive. I was a child back then in week one. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, trying to have the least blowback that week. So it's like eliminating somebody like from a chance to win in week one. Like he didn't even get to answer a question, you know? So that was the reason why I did that. I was like, I looked Kevin in the eye. I'm like, he's not going to hate me for doing this type of thing. So I was like, let me get rid of him first. Whereas the other people I kind of didn't know. And again, I think Marty had been out at that point, but I would have eliminated Marty because we had our 4 because I was comfortable with him if he had been there.
Yes. So, but there was part of you that had an idea that maybe he was saying things like this in the diary room.
I'm a bad boy. I'm a bad boy.
You know what? Not yet. Not yet. I didn't know that he would say that type of stuff as the weeks progressed, but no, in week one, no bad boy Kevin. He was just a simple man there to have fun. That's what he always said to me, and I believed him for the first little bit. At least I believed him.
Yeah. So obviously, especially in the episodes, it's shown that you are also like suggesting Kevin as a potential renom. And Kevin, sort of his theory on it was that, again, like because you had eliminated him, you felt like might as well like throw, like that trust might have been broken already, and he was just like an easy person to throw up. Is that?
Yeah, no, honestly, not the first part. No, it wasn't because I had like eliminated him earlier. It was just an easy person. Like I wanted Herman to have the least blowback in week one because he expressed to me how much he didn't want to win in HOH week one. He had this whole chart before the game and he was like, don't win HOH week one. I'm sure as you know. So he was very like beat up about that, even though it's like kind of good to have power. So I was like, listen, man, based on my conversations I'd been having, I was being, very open and talking to a lot of people. I'm like, this person is going to have the least blowback for you. Like, you don't want to get in trouble. I don't want you to get in trouble this week. How can we make this as smooth as possible for you without getting a target on your back next week? So suggesting Kevin was just like looking at all the people. I was like, Kevin seems to be the one with the least amount of relationships right now. It's the same thing with Helena. It could have been anybody. Like you even see in the episode, which is funny when we were watching it with Gino, and Gino's like, you said my name week one, where I was telling her, I'm like, even Gino, I'm like, man, put anybody up next to Melina right now. If you want Melina gone, I promise you we'll make that happen. Cause that was his MO with it. He wanted Melina gone. He didn't want her to stay, but I was like, even Gino, I was like, anybody, put up anybody, but these are the people most likely. Kevin and Helena seem to be the least connected to people right now. Melina will go home. Don't worry about it. That was kind of my suggestion. It wasn't really had to do with the fact that I had broken our relationship and stuff like that. I still felt really good with Kevin.
Okay. So yeah, like the Savage Sevens forming, you also have the thing with Marty. At that point, did you have a priority between the two alliances? It seemed like it was with the Marty group.
Yeah, it was. My number one priority was Kyle, Marty, Gino. Like those are my guys. I was like, I never ever made final fours, final twos, final threes with people. I should have, looking back on it, but I never did because I wanted to win power in order to make those relationships. But yeah, at that time it was Marty, Kyle, Gino. I'm like, you guys are my number ones. And I repeated it over and over and over again. I'm like, you are my number one priority. You are my number one priority. Like, I don't want us to be seen together because this is supposed to be a secret alliance. I don't want us four to just be seen together all the time. Like, I don't want that. And part of it was a little selfishly because I was like, not even playing both sides, but I was working with, a majority with that 7, but I didn't they weren't really a priority for me. I was just like, I just don't want people to know we're working together because we can run the whole house. Because if I was seen with them then all of my, let's just say Tanisha won an HOH or something. She'd be like, well, you don't really care about me that much. I wanted to be able to have an ear in other rooms in order to protect the 3 of them. So they were my number one priority through and through. Again, Kyle being a part of that was important. I saw Gino as a really, really good person. Marty was, Marty was cool to me. I was like, yo, this guy's a fun little small town French guy. Like, these guys are really cool to me. So that was kind of my, interest in having them as my priority. And then, after that, it was like Herman, Tanisha, Summer. Like they were still very, very, important in my eyes, but my number one at that time was definitely those 3 guys.
Yeah. Anything else from week one that didn't make the episodes that you feel like would be important for us to know?
No, honestly, the only thing that I didn't see in that episode, which I've only seen until episode 8, but the only thing I didn't see was Marty came into the room and into the money room, and it was me, Kyle, and Gino standing there. Kyle and I were trying to like figure out what bed to sleep in so we could have reconnaissance in both rooms. I was like, okay, I'll go to this room, you go to this room, just so we could kind of be like smartening up about it. But Marty walks in and he's like, you four, don't worry, I'm not gonna put you up if I win HOH this week. I was like, cool. I was like, you know what? This is perfect. So I was like, let me corral these guys. I'm like, you know what, guys? I like you four. Maybe we should work together. You guys want to do a secret alliance? They're like, yeah. I was like, yeah, let's work together. Cool. So that was a conversation I didn't see on live, or I guess there was no live feeds and stuff, but we had that conversation. I was like, yo, us four, secret alliance. You guys are down? They're like, yeah, we're down. I'm like, awesome. And we would like go in rooms, have conversations, and then I jet out of there. Gino and Marty would be talking and they would like move and like leave. But that was the only thing that I could think of actually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in week 2, Marty wins the HOH, and this is when things get a little weird for your game, where Marty starts talking about wanting to replace you with Herman in the 4, and because you're too like wishy-washy or whatever, like whatever the word is, and so. One of the reasons they think this, or Marty thinks this in particular, is that a couple of things. One is that you've been talking to them about Herman, and they don't trust that you're really anti-Herman, right?
Yes.
That's a big thing, and that's going to come back into play with the Kyle thing as well. Another part of it, and this is something that I think is another part of Kyle's HOH, is that you've talked to Kyle and Gino about Steph and Jace, about them potentially like turning on them. So where did that specifically come from? The Steph and Jace stuff.
So the Steph and Jace stuff, initially I had told Kyle and Gino to go work with them. I was like, you guys should I'm not even making an alliance. I was like, go corral those girls just so we have a little bit more of a number. Like, cause I saw the Savage 7, right? That was like 7 people. So I was like, we like having 2 more with us, 4 + 2, 6, that'll be a majority of the house that we can all sway to make sure that the 3 or the 4 of us are protected no matter who wins HOH. So that was initially what it was, is that I was like, I wanted them to be close with them. And then kind of as time went on, I just talking to I talked to Steph. I had 0 game conversation with Jace, essentially 0 game conversation with Steph. It was just kind of like, I like you, you like me, that's cool. So this is me being a newbie of Big Brother. I was like, we got to start getting rid of people. I was like, we got to start painting target on people's backs. We have to start finding ways to make people not like other people. So I was kind of just throwing their names out as like, because they had been sort of low key, and not really, big personalities. And in my mind, I was like, hey, we need to get rid of these low key people, or people that were, that I at least hadn't had game conversations with, because I'm like, are they just going to try to fly under the radar the whole time? So let me bring up their names now, because I don't want anybody to fly under the radar where it's just like, oh, nobody's name was ever mentioned, la-di-da-di-da. I was like, we got to say these people's names that nobody's going to think of saying until like week 5 or week 6. Again, this was my naive brain being like, yeah, like so that was where that kind of came from, where it was like, I had talked 0 game with them, and I wanted them to be valuable for the guys. They made it seem to me like they weren't close at all, even though I heard the retreat happened. So that's also what it was, is they were like, yeah, Steph and Jace, like, I don't really know. And I was like, okay, we don't really know. Boom. Those are targets for us.
Yeah. So like that worked with them, but it also, I think, made them like, oh, okay, but now it's sort of like them versus Moose in terms of who's true to us. Right. And then also the Herman thing, which, again, like I think surprised a lot of people when the feed started and you were talking about Herman, because again, the episodes really made it seem like you were very close. But it seems like the people in the house also kind of had that impression. They were kind of thrown off with you talking about Herman as a target.
Yeah, it's so, man, this is what it was. And like, I just was so trying to think big brain. That's what it was. I was really trying to be like this big, smart player. And I was like, there's no way this guy trusts me this much. Yeah. That's the way I saw it. I was like, I had safety in week 1. I'm like, there's no way, because this is what unfortunately had happened. Me and Herman were like, let's spend as least amount of time as possible with each other. let's do that. So for 3-4 days, we literally never talked. Like we would be in public, we'd be in the groups. We never talked. Like we never were one-on-one. People started disassociating us with each other, but he was like openly hanging out with Tanisha all the time, which, we were Savage 7. I had been talking to Summer and Tanisha about a little trio that we called Curly Haired Gang for like 1 week, but that, dissipated. So I was like, okay, this guy so wants to hang out with T and Summer, and multiple people are bringing it up, yet he's not keen to hang out with me at all, and like I would try to hang out with him and he would just kind of like, he would leave. Like, I'd sit down somewhere and he'd leave, like it wasn't even that he'd tell me or be like, yo, Moose, like let's just keep keep things secret. I'd be like, okay. Like I'd go in the kitchen, he'd walk out of the kitchen and I'm like, why is he like avoiding me? It wasn't even that he was like not trying to be seen with, he was literally avoiding me, which again was because of what we talked about. Right. But I was like, there's no way this guy trusts me this much. Like he is such a good, and I saw him as the best player. Like this was in week 2, but I was like, this guy is the best player in this game right now. He's like, I can tell he's a competitor. I can tell he's very social. He's funny. Like everything about him is just built to win. So I was like, there has to be, he's trying to get people against me. I was like, he has to be getting Tanisha against me. He has to be working with like there has to be something that Herman is doing to try to get rid of me. So in the grand scheme of the game, I was like, at some point, I think Herman is going to try to plant all these seeds about why I'm bad for people's games in order to eliminate me in like week 5 or something like that. So that's why that week I was like, boom, it's Herman time. And the same way it was week 1 with Jess. I was like, Jess is a gamer. Like they are somebody who's like really strong. They should go. Week 2 for me was the same thing with Herman. I'm like, yo, Herman is a gamer. This guy is serious. Like he's going to probably want to get rid of me. He sees me as a big threat. There's no way he trusts me this much. That was kind of where my mentality was at, was saying his name.
Yeah, and I get like the way that you saw Kyle, Gino, and Marty at this point was like you guys were essentially about the pretty boys at this point, right? Like you kind of felt like we're the 4-person secret guy alliance, and I can trust them with this. And like I need to like give them the game plan about like who the threats are to this core 4.
Yes, of course. That's literally what it was. I was like, these are people that we need to worry about, right? Like right now, especially. And the way I saw the game and like, even sliding into my conversation with Herman in week 1, I was like, we have to get rid of big targets and big names. That was the way I saw the game. And Herman was like, yo, he's like, we got to keep bigger targets, man. So that way we aren't the targets. I was like, that's really smart. Again, this is me not knowing anything. So he told me this in week 1. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like we should keep out around bigger targets. But in week 2, I was like, this guy is going to be somebody that slides through the whole game because everyone loves him. I want to bring this up now. Just as confidence. I'm like, I'm telling this to my 3 group of guys as confidence in you, letting you know how I feel right now. That's what it was.
Yeah. So that kind of leads into Kyle's HOH. Where it should have been a good one, right? Should have been very easy.
Should have been. Yeah.
I can tell you, like, when we were watching, we were like, oh boy, all right, scratch this week off. It's gonna be straightforward, boring. The easy move is to take, because we were like, this guy's in the power. He's got the thing with Marty. He's in the Savage 7. He's in the retreat. He's got a massive power structure, that he's a part of. And the only person who's not in his structure that's actively against him is Betty. And nobody's gonna stick up for Betty. It's a very easy move. He makes everyone feel comfortable. Puts up Betty, maybe Jess, maybe somebody else, sends Betty home. Everybody feels like Kyle kept me safe. He was a very stable HOH. It's one of those like it's a classic kind of like, a lot of like big boring winners of the show have done a move like that where they like really establish dominance, which is kind of what Herman was trying to do in week 1 as well. Exactly. Right? Like nice boring move, set up a power structure. But then things got a little weird.
Things went a little awry there, Taran. Just a bit.
Because so first he has been thinking he wants to potentially take out Steph. And part of that's based on what you've said. Part of it's what like his own suspicions about Steph. Part of it's that like she doesn't really get along with Gino that well. And so he's been thinking about that. He decides that's what he wants to do. And he's really like, he doesn't want to tell her. Like it's like it took him he waited until the last second because he was like, I really didn't want to do it. He finally sits down to tell her, And she's like, what are you talking about? She says,
That's wild.
That's wild. And she's like, why in the world would you're in an alliance with me?
Yeah.
You idiot. Why would you do this? And he's like, Moose.
Mm-hmm.
Moose is why I would do it. And that's when, of course, we get,
Where's Moose?
and you come in. So to give me your perspective, she comes, where's Moose? What are you thinking?
She comes and finds me in the kitchen. So funnily enough, that whole week we were doing fake fighting improv. Steph and I were both in drama in high school. So we were doing fake fighting improv that whole week, which I guess, you know what? The universe makes things happen for weird
Multiple
reasons.
people told me they thought the fight was fake for a long time.
Well, that's the thing, right? Okay, so and we can get into that because people in the house thought the fight was fake, which I had to quell. But people were like, that's why I was like, Steph, I'm making food. Like, I was like, this is not the time for one of these. And she was like, no, come upstairs now. I was like, oh, this is for real? I'm like, oh, you're serious. And we get into the room. I'm like, oh, this is serious, right? So the first thing that goes through my mind is what just happened, right? Like, why is she mad at me? Then I start to get the information and I'm like, okay, Kyle threw my name under the bus. That's fine. I didn't get suspicious. That's fine. I'm like, you know what? He needed somebody to come and handle the situation for him. That's fine. We're in an alliance. I'll do a little work for you, bro. That's all good for me. You know what I mean? I trust you. So Summer said it the best, and I tweeted about this. I was like, I apologize to Summer because Summer was like, "Are you sure Moose wasn't just trying to save your ass by having this conversation with Steph?" Which is what I was trying to do. I'm like, you couldn't talk yourself out of the situation. That's fine. I'll talk you out of the situation for you to show you how much I care about you as an alliance member.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was my thinking during this whole conversation. But again, I think that was one of the seldom pieces that made Kyle want to put me up as well, because he saw how good of a liar I was. And yeah, go ahead.
He said this.
Oh my gosh, what Moose is doing. This is an award-winning performance.
You know, I heard about, he said it to me too. He said it to me multiple times. He's like, this is an Oscar-worthy performance, man. It was an award-winning performance. And the thing is, even in that conversation, I didn't lie that much. Like, I just like kind of quelled the truth and said things that were said because Steph was just like, Kyle said that you were going to come, like Kyle, you said to Kyle that I was going to be the one to come after him. I was like, no, I said to Kyle because he asked me who he didn't trust. And he said that he didn't trust you, potentially leaving you as somebody that could come after him, you know, which was the truth. Like, I didn't say that specifically about Steph. So as much as I was like finessing things, I was still kind of being honest. And I hope Kyle would see that. Like, I wasn't sitting there being like bold-faced lie, like the whole time. Some things I kind of stretched the truth about, some things I lied about, but other stuff was like the truth of mine and Kyle's conversation, which I thought he would appreciate and be like, damn, like, not only did Moose like kind of talk her off this cliff, but he also spit the facts. Like, he didn't just keep the things that were truth in the conversation behind closed doors. Again, hoping that he'd understand my conversations with him about talking about Herman and all these things were also true, right? Because at one point he even came up to me, he's like, how do I know you and Herman aren't like acting like you hate each other in order? And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Like, I'm not that smart. Like, I'm really not that smart. Like, there's no way that I would do that. So that was kind of where that conversation was. Some people in the house thought it was fake. And I was like, do you understand? Like, even after we both got put up, I was like, so you're telling me you think this conversation is fake? If Steph and I knew about it, that would be the dumbest thing of all time because we just both got put on the block. If Kyle and Steph knew about it, why would they do that? Because Steph is going on the block. If me and Kyle knew about it, he wouldn't be talking all this smack about me to all of you behind my back. So how on earth could this fight have been fake? So yeah, it was a very real fight. And I think she was also hurt because I kind of basically a day before that was like, yo, I really like you, Steph. But yeah, that was kind of what went down in that HOH room.
Yeah, and then after that, he really dropped the bomb on you, and you know, this was a powerful moment.
My degree is not in English. It is in sport media.
Big one. That was a big one, and it's really funny because I thought it was a bomb too, like a huge bombshell, and nobody else did. Literally nobody. Tanisha was like, I do not care. Summer was like, who the hell cares? I don't care if you guys were in fry cooking class together. That doesn't matter to me, you know? And like Josh was like, I'm literally shaking. I just saw a clip of it today. And they were all like, who cares, man? Like, we don't care. But I think the thing is that they also didn't really understand, like our program was really small. So that's why it was like, cause people go to university programs, there's hundreds, there's thousands of people that are in these programs. We had like 60 to 80 people per year. So we knew everybody from the first year down to the fourth. So that's why it was like much bigger in our eyes. And had he done a little bit of a better job explaining that, I think people would have probably been like, oh, you guys really actually know each other, as opposed to we were in university and he was a year above me. They were like, okay, and what? And I tried to make it a little bit of a bombshell when I told Herman that. He brushed it aside. I brushed it aside too. I was being honest with him. We're like, hey man, like this is the truth. He's like, no, I know. I was like, cool, perfect. Anyway, let's get back into the game, right? But yeah, that was I thought it was going to be huge, important information, and it just wasn't.
Yes. So Kyle is going to, and you even had like a moment where, because Betty thought she was going on the block. Yeah. Up until the ceremony, you didn't know you were going on the block, and nope. So you were comforting Betty about going on the block, not realizing that it was actually the other way around.
Yeah.
And so you end up on the block. There's no reasoning.
There was no reasoning in the reasoning.
No reasoning in the reasoning.
No reasoning in the reasoning, man. None.
And Kyle drops this in from on you, and not just that you know each other, but also that that you had been saying things about Herman, and that you had been targeting him and all of this stuff. Like that's the really like damning part for you, that you have to really do a lot of damage control when it comes to Herman and Summer and Tanisha.
Yeah.
Walk me through that.
Yeah, that was honestly big. And so the thing is, the reasoning behind the reasoning was because of what he said during the ceremony. So I didn't realize all this other stuff, obviously, but he's like, Steph, I'm putting you on the block because people said you were targeting me. Those people that said you were targeting me was Moose. So I'm going to put him on the block too. I was like, that makes, again, he actually had another reason to put it, like, that wasn't the reason he put me up. It was because of the Herman stuff and he didn't trust me. But in the ceremony, because that was the only information I had at the time, I'm like, this makes no sense. You're saying that you're going to put me up next to somebody I told you was targeting you, but you don't trust me. So why are you putting up her? It's like, that's what was my thinking. Right. So, honestly, after that, I was like, okay, like, this is it. I'm like, this is the game. I'm like, it's time to game now. Like, there's a conversation I had with Kyle in the Expedia room. I was like, let's play. I was like, it's time to play, man. Like, I'm not here to, I was like, if I want to win this game, every big brother player has to have some adversity. Hey, Tashawn won the year before without hitting the block. He definitely did have to face some sort of adversity though at some point, right? But I was like, this is the way I see it. I'm like, if I'm going to want to be here, I'm going to have to earn my spot here. That was the way I saw it moving forward. So it was time to start gaming. And I had a conversation. I had a very honest conversation with Herman. Again, kind of quelled the truth a little bit, where I was like, I said your names, but I said it as if it was something he wouldn't do. I didn't actually say your names. And he was like, okay, like, yeah, I get that. And I said the same thing to Tanisha, where I'm like, look, I fully said to him this week, I would put up Herman and Tanisha, but I knew he would, but I said it in the sense of, I knew that he wasn't going to do that. And I know that that's not what Kyle was going to do that week. I think everybody should be considered to be put up as an HOH, right? Like, that's just the way this game works. You don't know what's the truth and what's a lie. So that's what I was trying to tell to Kyle. So it was a lot of damage control. And I think, thankfully after I won that POV, it was a little bit easier, but I think the problem was that Kyle continued to, based on what I was hearing, slander his own game, right? It was just continuous, where it was like, this was what was going to happen. This was what was going to happen. And then Marty started not having faith in him and stuff. So for me, I was like, this is good for me. I was like, I have my priority now. It's not those three guys anymore. It's the Savage Seven. I was like, these are my main, and it wasn't even the seven. It was Herman, T, Summer, and Josh. I'm like, those are my four most important people now. Everyone else in this game can figure it out. That was the way I saw it. I was like, these are the people that are important to me. I'm going to work very hard to get them to trust me this week. Those four people.
Yeah. And so you do end up winning the veto, and you had one of my favorite celebrations of the season. Power
veto, baby!
Check.
You try to put me on the block, try to pin everybody against me in the house, Kyle? Look what you did. Foolish. You can't get rid of me that easily, baby. Moose B is in the house.
You're bringing me back flashbacks, man. I was geeked. I genuinely never, you don't think you can win a competition until you do. That's just the way that works. I was pumped. I had to hit my boy with the check. He was like the chess guy in the house, right? You know, so it's like, all right, you had me in check. Now I have you in check. You know, I pulled myself off the block. Like, this is what's going to happen. I was very, I felt really good about that win. It was super. I think it also solidified me as a quote unquote player. I mean, I think everyone's a player, right, in the game, but I think in people's eyes, they were like, okay, Moose has value now, as opposed to this guy that's just been running around and talking to people this whole time. And I think that was a good thing for me, obviously, because I was able to use that in campaigns and all this other stuff further down the line. But that was a huge moment for me. I right now, at least, is still definitely top 5 moment in my life. Unreal. Like, it was so cool. But yeah, after that, I was like, okay, it's not, I didn't even see it as smooth sailing. I'm like, yeah, I'm safe until noms, but regardless, like, I'm happy for one day. I was like, I'm going to be happy for one day. And then the next days I'm back to work. Like, I'm back to building these relationships. I'm back to telling everybody exactly what happened. Like, I can be really honest now. And I did do that. And I was like very honest with everybody about what had happened and everything like that. So yeah, it was a very good thing for me to happen that week, that I won that power veto and was on the block. Like, I think it just did. I think it helped me in the game, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the whole house is now like flipping against Kyle, and you know, it takes a little while though for you to be able to kind of like, and it never really happens that like you're able to fully get back in with, you know, you get back in with Herman, yes, but he kind of goes to Josh after that. And you kind of get back in with Summer and Tanisha, but Tanisha's not like too long for this world at this point, and it never really like comes back together. What's kind of just like, what like was the game plan to try to get them together at that point? And like what were you trying to do?
Like after all that stuff happened?
Yeah, like just trying to recover from that, right? Like the house flips on Kyle. Kyle's not in power anymore, but the damage has been done to your game. So where do you go from there?
So like for me personally, I was like, I got to win HOH. That was my first thing. My second thing was, if like, regardless of whether I do or don't win HOH, let me take a back seat. I was like, you just overgamed. You know, you just saw it. You just overgamed, overplayed. Take a huge step back. Stop being in conversations all the time. Stop giving out information. Stop keenly looking for people to talk to the game about. That was my priority. I was like, I'm going to take a step back this week. I'm not going to really talk to anybody. I want to be out of the spotlight. I want to be out of all this drama. You know what I mean? People ask me about if the fight is fake or not. I'm like sitting there having to rationalize with them. I'm like, let me just reset to the beginning. And I think everybody, if you ask them, saw the week 3 as a reset week. It was literally like this, boom, all these alliances were blown up, you know, minus, you know, ghosts and the things like that. But it was a complete 180 on the game. And like, let's start over. Like, we got to start over with our relationships. Clearly what we thought was right wasn't what the truth was. So my plan from there was like, please win HOH this week. And I was like, if you don't, just survive, have less conversations. If people want to talk to you, they do. Otherwise, don't overdo it. Just take a back seat for this week and just chill out.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like there was a shift in your game where you became less active as like as a strategist, as like somebody that was actively talking to people. You know, prior to that, you had, you know, your secret alliance, you had the Savage 7, you were kind of talking game with a lot of people. But after this, it seemed like you really were like, okay, maybe I need to chill. And that's kind of where I think you were for most of the rest of the game.
Yeah, that's like ish. Yeah, that's pretty much where I was, because I was like, you tried to be this big brain superhero player. Clearly that didn't work. Start thinking small, like start from step 1 and think small, which, you know, inevitably hurt me down the line. But regardless, I was like, don't think so big. Just try to survive every week. And go from there. Like, you know, when Gino won HOH that week, I was like, I don't have any other priorities other than myself this week. That's my main priority. I'm not going to try to fight for other people. I'm not going to try to give Gino information he doesn't need. As long as he doesn't put me on the block, that's what I care about the most. Like, that was my only priority in week 4. And then, you know, things kind of changed after that, week 5 and onwards. But I was like, I became my own number 1 priority, when that up until that point, I wasn't. I cared about other people more than I cared about myself.
Yeah. So yeah, Gino ends up targeting Kyle, which this is like, great for you because Kyle was weirdly never going to forget that he needed to target you. So it would have been like you would have had to waste an HOH on him if you had won one. And so Gino doing it for you is great news. And that's a great step to sort of recover from the situation.
Oh, it's huge. And you know what's funny, man? Like people think that I would have put up Kyle if let's say I had won that week. I genuinely might not have. You know, I meant like just to show some like, you know, like resilience in myself as like a player. Like people be like, damn, like Moose isn't salty like that. Like he's a smart player. Like that was like my thinking if I had won HOH, right? Like I don't know. But in my mind, I was like, if I just go back tit for tat with Kyle, like I don't need to do all that. You know, I was like, I'm good. Let me be even bigger than that, you know, because then people be like, yo, I really trust Moose. Like this guy isn't going to just be he's not an emotional guy. He's not going to just play just to get rid of people. You know what I mean? So regardless, after I found out that Kyle had essentially, you know, overdid his HOH week. And then that happened with Gino. I was like, this is amazing. Lovely. Unreal. However, he was sitting next to the block next to Jess. And because I was taking a step back that week and I was like, I'm not trying to say anything. Really, 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 truly, part of me wanted to talk to Herman and Tanisha and Summer because we were on good terms and we were talking. I was like, by the way, this week, like my vote is your vote. That was the way I saw it. I was like, let me try to build my relationship. So that's what I did. I was like, Herman told me, or this was during the Josh week, actually, not the Gino week, but I was like, your vote is my vote. Wherever you two tell me to go is where I'm going to go. Herman was like, I appreciate you saying that to me. I'm not the guy though. Ask them. I was like, that's perfect. So that was kind of what I did as well in week 4. We all knew we were voting for Kyle, but I was like, hey, whatever you guys are doing, I'm doing. Like you don't have to. But I deeply wanted to suggest getting rid of Jess that week because I just knew that they were gunning for me. They multiple times had asked me to be in alliance or work together. And I just denied it multiple times. And it was just kind of like, yeah, for sure. And I was like, Kyle is already, you know, like he's already paddling right now. Like, he's like, sure, if he wins HOH next week, like, you know, we'll all be in trouble. But I was like, is that a risk I'm willing to take? Maybe. I was like, yeah, I'd be willing to risk that. Like, let's, you know, I was like, Jess is a gamer. Like, do we really want to keep, but I didn't want to bring that up. I couldn't say anything because, you know, I had been saying all this other stuff those prior weeks. So I'm like, if I just bring up getting rid of Jess now, they'll be like, Moose, shut up. We're getting rid of Kyle. Stop trying to do things. We're not working with you anymore. So I was like, all right, whatever you guys want to do, like you guys do it. But I told this to Herman as well. And Herman was like, that's really funny because if you had said it, I genuinely would have told you to stop talking and I would have not worked with you. So it's a good thing I didn't bring it up. But yeah, Kyle that week, it was a unanimous house decision.
Yeah, I mean, and that like bring that up. Like this season was one where the outsiders really played a huge role, obviously, because they were pretty talented at the game. Kevin, Helena, even Jess to a degree was doing a very good job in the early portion of the game.
Absolutely,
developing relationships, and a lot of the players who were in the bigger alliances were kind of screwing themselves up by trying to overly win the loyalty of these outsiders. But that didn't seem like something you were too invested in throughout the season. You were one of the players that didn't invest too heavily in Kevin, Helena, or Jess. Was that intentional?
Yes-ish, because the reason why I'd say it's intentional is because I, again, being a big brother, like, you know, not a savant, I was like, I need to have targets. That was the way I saw it. I was like, because I wanted to win power, I was like, I need to have some people I can put up. I don't want to align with everybody and then put 2 people up. And they're like, well, we were all working together. And then that whole week they run around and go, well, Moose and I, we were in alliance. Like I was working with Moose. Because then I just would have had a bad HOH week because I would have put up these 2 people that I was working with. Should I have worked with the entire house? Could I have? Maybe, like probably. Like I had multiple conversations with Helena just from the beginning of the game, was like, let's work together, like multiple times. And I just kept on quelling it. Like I should have just been like, Jess, yeah, like nobody will know that we're working together. Like this is perfect. Like, let's just do this, you and I. But that was my issue, right? Is that I wanted to win power and I needed targets. So I was like, I need people to put up. I can't be working with everybody. So not having Kevin, Helena, and Jess in my, you know, Rolodex of people that I was working with was something I saw as, you know, it was intentional for sure, but I didn't like not have a relationship with them. I knew I could talk to them about votes, right? So that was where I was with that. It wasn't like, but with Jess specifically, they obviously knew that I was, you know, saying their name a lot and that I was targeting them a lot as the game went on.
Yes. So yeah, Jess wins that HOH, and it's bad news for you. Luckily, you have a couple of things going for you. One is that Kevin really wants Herman gone. And so instead of doing something like you and Helena, it's instead you and Herman. But then Herman wins the veto.
Yeah.
Gets a little trickier. So I imagine you were immediately like worried when Jess won the HOH.
A little bit. I was a little worried. I wasn't entirely like, oh damn, I'm in trouble. But I was like, because they had multiple times tried to work in an alliance with me, I was like, let's see what I can do here. And when we had our conversation, I told them flat out to their face, I was like, I 1000% have been saying your name to people as somebody that people should target. You're a gamer. And am I wrong? You're not. You are. You've won two things now. You won a power veto. You've won an HOH. You were you saw yourself as the person who could get targeted every week from week one, and you haven't been. That goes to show how good of a player that you are. So, you know, I told them that, and I was like, look, I have been saying your name. Like, I'm sorry. I've been trying to I've been transitioning that from saying that you're a target to somebody who's just a good player, you know, just trying to kind of like, you know, save my beans, but that definitely didn't work. So I wasn't initially worried right off the bat because I was like, let me use my words to see what I can make happen for myself here, but that didn't work either.
Yeah. And so this is when things get weird with you and Jess and Betty, because you make a pitch to Jess, like, hey, put up like Kevin and Betty, and then Betty has some things to say to you.
So don't pitch my name. That's rude.
Okay.
And I won't stand for it.
Okay.
Okay, cool. And I don't want to talk to you either.
Sorry.
Don't be sorry. Just like, don't say my name unnecessarily.
Oh my God, that was really funny. Yo, okay, so it's jokes because we had the true few. You know, that was like that was literally a bullet point in what was an alliance massacre for this season. So Betty was a part of that for us, right? But I at that point saw her as not the least priority, but I was only trying to work again with Josh, Tanisha, Summer, Herman. Like, those are my main people. And I was like, those are the people I care about the most right now. Betty was a part of, again, that true few, but I was like, inevitably, like, I need to target people, right? So I was just trying to save myself by trying to say something with Betty. But because she was in that alliance, I didn't want to have this argument with her in public to make her seem like a very chaotic player. That was literally my thinking. Like, that's why I was sitting there like, let me just take these hits. You know, I did something wrong. I was literally running to go tell Betty because I told Kevin what I'd said. I was on my way to go tell Betty. I was gonna be like, yo, Betty, I said your name. I didn't mean it. I was just saying stuff to Jess, right? But I obviously didn't get there in time. And then I was like, let her have this. Like, I want her to, like, you know, hit me with all of the anger, but I don't want Betty to blow up right now in front of the whole house and then have a target on her back, because again, we were in a seldom alliance. So I was like, all right, whatever, say what you have to say. Like, I get it. Cause I could have been like, yeah, what, and what, you know, like do all that right in front of the house. But I was like, I don't want that noise. I just got out of this whole problem with Kyle that I had in week 3. Let me just take a back seat. It's totally fine. But again, it was the wording, right? It was the verbiage that I had found out after, which was the issue that I had. But I wasn't I'm not a liar. Like, I was like, yeah, I fully said your name 1000%. I was like, you didn't win a POV and pull yourself off the block. That's a fact. You know, like I said what I said. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, well, because like the whole thing, it was like it was whether or not you said or implied that like Betty deserved to be there.
Yeah,
Hey, exactly. I mean, I assume you haven't gotten back to this episode yet, but
I haven't.
But yeah, like do you? So like, where do you stand on it now in terms of like? Do you feel like, you know, maybe I did a little bit imply that with what I said, or do you feel like, was it reasonable to interpret it that way, or like where do you stand on it?
So based on my understanding, which again, I haven't seen it yet, but based on my understanding, I think I implied something like that, where I was like, I deserve to be here because I had won the POV that week. So I get why that was what was said. I said that I deserve to be here. I'm pretty sure that's what people told me. Right. But I never said that Betty or Kevin didn't deserve to be here. So I think the interpretation of it was just like, again, and Jess even said it in a conversation with Summer and I on the couch, because Jess wanted to talk to me. I was like, I'm not going to speak to you unless someone else is there, because we're not doing this anymore. So Summer was sitting next to me on the couch, and Summer heard verbatim Jess say, well, she's like, they were like, oh, it's a game move. Like that was like, I had to do things for my game this week. Right. And then when Summer heard that, they were like, hey, that's a red flag. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so you're saying that that's what you did. Right. But for me, I did say that, where I was like, maybe I felt like what I was saying was that I deserve to be there more than them, but it wasn't that. I just felt like I didn't deserve to hit the block again.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, are you kidding me? I just went through all this, I was like, I just felt like I didn't deserve that. But in terms of like being there, like just actually like playing the big brother game, I'm like, that's egregious. I don't think anybody should be saying that about anybody that's here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From Melina to now, like there's nobody that doesn't deserve to be here. Right. So that's where I was definitely upset. Again, I haven't seen the episode, so I don't know how much it's like I might watch it and be like, oh damn, that is exactly what I said. I don't know, but I just feel like it might've just been, a little bit farther stretched. And especially with Betty, somebody like her, like she takes words very seriously. And that's why I was like, I never said Betty doesn't deserve to be here. Like, I know I didn't say that, and that's why, and I was just frustrated, not even on a game level. It was just like, personally, that's so disrespectful to somebody to be like, yo, by the way, I don't even think you should be playing Big Brother. Like, what? Who even are you? You're playing the same game as me, like dummy. Like, that's the way I would see it too. So that was kind of like my thought about it. So like, again, I haven't seen the whole thing, but I know that I did say the whole, like, I deserve to be here, not on the block type of thing, but definitely not like saying that them two were like, ugh, didn't deserve it at all. Like, ugh. No, I don't like that.
And like I think that from my perspective at least, you were absolutely one of the, because like that, and I think part of what compounded that situation as well was that like that had been something that other people had been saying, like not worth taking a shot at Betty, like implying that like Betty's not at the same level as other players and similar things. But you were always a person, because Kevin was very much this way too, and I think you were totally on the same page of just like, you very much were like, everybody deserves to be here, like everybody's on the same level, like don't underestimate anybody. So I think that's like that especially rung untrue in terms of like how you would genuinely feel about it.
Yeah, that's what it was, right? Like, I think everyone had value, right? To win every single week, to win a power veto at any time, to vote for you to stay at any point, right? Like, that's the way the game works. And that was me learning, right? Like, I learned that in week 3, right? Like, that's when I learned that in week 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think everybody had like the reasons to be there, had also, power in a vote, had also a power to win at any time, unless you were like, like Kevin, where maybe you didn't want to win, or like you were like Summer, where that was your game plan, right? Like, it's everyone played differently. So to say that it's like someone's game was better than another person's game. And again, I heard that stuff with Kyle in week 3, watching the episode where it's like getting rid of Betty. Like, what's the point of that this week? It's like, well, there you go. Betty made final 3, so where are we? Where are we right now? Right? Like it's all relative when you think about it later in the game.
Yeah, it's like, and that's like in terms of the value the player has to your game. It's like, are they with you? Like it's not worth taking out a player that's not targeting you. Is that that's when it's not worth taking a player.
Exactly.
But you end up on the block next to Herman. Herman wins the veto, and Tanisha ends up on the block next to you, and this is another huge sort of turning point in the game, because this is when Kevin is setting up this split vote blindside situation. But you knew immediately, like, I don't think I'm gonna have, or at least this is what you told Kevin and them, like, I don't think I'm gonna have Herman, Summer, Betty, like, I don't think I'm gonna have them. I'm gonna need what turned out to be the 5, right? Yes. So what is your perspective on this portion of the week?
Yeah, honestly, so we had tried to talk to Jess. I didn't, because I was like, you want me gone, I am a target. So I was like, I'm not going to try to do anything right now. But I think Tanisha and Herman were trying to convince Jess to put up, whether it was Kevin or Helena, in order to work with us long term. Where it was like, Jess, if you do this week, believe us, you will be safe. Like, we will protect you. Like me, Josh, Summer, T, Herman. We're like, we will have your back. And I think that they just didn't believe us, with good reasoning, right? Like with the targeting and everything and the way that, so I get it. But I think had they done that, they really would have had an opportunity to have a strong alliance for the rest of the game. But, Tanisha gets put next to me on the block. I'm like, honestly, relishing this moment. I love a good pitch. Huge. I'm a huge pitch guy. I love pitches. So I'm like, all right, let's get this going. So my first secured vote was Marty. Marty came to me, heard that Tanisha was saying his name, and he was like, you know what, Moose, don't tell anybody this. And if anybody finds out, I'm not voting for you, but you have my vote. I was like, sick. We have one. I was like, okay, we have one. All right. I was fighting. I was early on in the campaign. I'm like, all right, time to get like a little doozy. Let's go. I pick up Jace. I'm like, Jace, and Tanisha and I both did this, but Jace and I was like, we hadn't had a lot of game talks. I said that I wouldn't put her up if there was a double in week 4. I think the week before, that was the first game talk we had, and I would have stayed loyal to that. And I was like, Jace, like, you're an individual player. Obviously you have the showmance, but like, I want you to want me to stay. I don't need you and Gino to want me to stay. So I really went hard with it. And I was like, look, like, we can do this. Like, look, I'm better for your game. I won't put you up next week. I'm telling you that right now. I will protect you. Like, I'll keep you safe. Like, hold that, and I ran that spiel with a few people, promised a couple of things. Kevin wanted safety for 2 weeks. I was willing to give him that. So Marty didn't want safety for the next week, but he just wanted to make sure that we could work together for the rest of the game. I was like, that's cool with me. Gino and Jace, I think it was sort of the same pitch of being like, don't worry, you guys are protected if I win power or whatever the case might be. So that was those were the 5 that I needed. And Herman and Josh were kind of I was hoping one of them would vote for me because, bringing it back to week 1, at one point we were in the dark in one of the nights, and it was the 3 of us sitting on the couch, and we were like, yo, let's work together. I was like, us 3, man. Like, I like us 3. Like, let's do this. Like, we're really, we're competitors. We all like each other. So I thought that both of them one of them would have my back, and they were like, nah, man, you have the vote. Then as I'm pitching to them in this last ditch effort, I got all my votes secured. Kevin is with me. Helena's with me. I got Jason Gino and I got Marty. Helena's the only one I can tell is on the border. Like, I can tell she's on the borderline, sitting on that couch, waiting for the vote to happen. I'm looking at Helena like, oh my God, she's going to flip. I was like, can one of you just vote for me? Like, then sure enough, Tanisha walks in, tears, hands in face. I'm done this week. Make sure you guys fight for each other. And I was like, oh my God, that is the worst possible thing that could happen to me right now. As I'm begging for these guys to vote for me because I don't have the vote. That's exactly like, I'm like, this is like baloney. I'm like, okay, that's great. So I was just like, I was like, I'm going to scrape by, hopefully, I was like, Helena's the one. So, those other people were pretty confident. Marty was confident from the beginning. Jason, like Kevin was like, I got you. So, but I could tell just Helena was really thinking about it. The vote happens, I come out on top. I have to go console Helena and give her a hug because she's like, what have I done? I'm a terrible person, all this sort of thing. And I'm like, I'm better for your game, Helena. I promise you, like, do not worry. Like, I'm here for you. Like, it's all good. Because I was right. I was like, she was the one. And had she flipped, it would have been like, okay, like, here I am now, like, looking like a bozo, just sitting here in my 5-4 lost vote. And that was like, that was a very, very powerful week for me. I understood the value of campaigning and knowing what it's like to have people in your vote. And it was fun. It was honestly a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I'm curious about a couple of things. One is like, how much of this did you feel that, like, because Kevin obviously knew from the get-go, like, Moose is gonna stay, and he tried to get in early to be like, hey, I'm working for you. He did the same thing to Josh in week 3, and that turned into the crash test dummies. But with you, it didn't seem to go as far. Did you feel like he was doing work for you? Like, how did you feel about Kevin at that point?
Like during my campaign week?
Yeah.
Honestly, I had no idea. I just knew that Kevin was interested in keeping me around, and I knew that he had my back. And we were in the hot tub and I was pitching him. Basically, I was giving him my pitch for next week. And I was like, I'm going to throw the HOH. And he was like, don't say that. He's like, that is dumb. He's like, I don't trust you. He's like, nobody will trust you if you say that. I like everything else you're saying, but don't say that. I was like, okay, sounds good. It's like, yeah. So he helped me refine my pitch. before I'd went and gone to everybody. So I was like, this guy really wants him to stay. Whether or not he was really like fighting for me with other people in other rooms, that kind of, I wasn't thinking about that at all with my pitch. I wasn't like, how are these people going to talk to each other? Literally was not a priority for me. The only thing I was thinking of, these conversations one-on-one I'm having with people, I want them to keep me. That's it. I don't need, like, it wasn't that I was like, oh, like, is Jace going to talk to Marty and is Marty going to talk to Gino in hopes of keeping me around? Like, that wasn't the way I saw it at all. I was like, as long as these people individually understand that I'm better for their game to stay, that's what it was. So I didn't have much of an opinion on whether or not Kevin was really, you know, fighting for me that week. It was just like, he's somebody that voted for me and I appreciate him for that, you know, whether or not he was working with Helena or Marty or whatever, because I'd seen him at that point kind of working with Marty. I was like, maybe they kind of talked and figured it out, but Marty had told me initially in the week. So I had no opinion on Kevin. I was just like, he's voting for me. That's all I need this week. I just need survival.
Yeah. And then, so another thing is that you're campaigning that you're going to essentially put up like Betty and Summer was one of the things that you said. Yeah. Obviously we get into the safety chain. It's not a situation where you're putting people on the block, but if it had been a normal double eviction, who do you think you would have nominated?
So if I had won an HOH that week and it was a double, okay.
Yeah, like if that safety chain bowling comp had been a regular HOH, who are you putting up?
Wow. See, because there's no collateral, but there's minimal collateral, right? So, you know what? Dang, you know, I haven't thought about that, but you know, I honestly, as much as it breaks me to say, it would have been one of those 4 people that didn't vote for me. And maybe someone else like Helena, you know, I would have been like, let me put up, call it, you know, maybe I would have put up the showmans. Like, I actually don't know. I haven't really thought about it, but it would have been like Josh it would have been like Betty and Helena, or like Betty and Jace or something like that. You know, like I would have picked one from either side, but then made it clear that the person that didn't vote for me was the target. That's what I would have done. So it's like the other person would have been a pawn essentially, but you know, who knows with the way a vote goes. Had it been a regular double though, it would have been, you know, probably Betty or Summer, maybe leaning more towards Summer, because Betty had a reason to be mad at me and a reason not to vote for me that week. So I was like, that's why I was like, I'm not even going to bother pitching to you. Like, I feel like that's disrespectful to be like, hey, still vote for me after I wanted you up this week. Like, no, I didn't see that as value. So yeah, if I did have a double that week, it would have been one of the people that didn't vote for me, one of the people that did. Again, I liked Herman and I liked Josh, and I thought that all of us were working together. And even after that conversation, which is why I decided to save them in the chain of safety, like those are my guys. So I was like, probably would have been like, you know, maybe like, you know, Betty or Summer mixed with like Gino and Jace, you know, maybe Kevin, something like that. Right. But it would have been an in the moment thing. I would have had to like think about it then. But my chain of safety was worried about keeping my priorities, honestly.
So, Tanisha's voted out, and it's mostly a blindside. Obviously, the Helena vote kind of leaked ahead of time, which put the suspicion into people's minds. But they were still, I think, hopeful that it would still play out all right. And like, how are you feeling in that moment? What is the experience?
Honestly, I was pretty broken. To be fair, like that whole week I was kind of upset, and we had really good times with each other still. And I never used Tanisha's name in my pitch either, like because you know I respected her and we were alliance members. Like there was I didn't see reason for me to do that. I was like, if people want to keep me, that's cool. If not, Tanisha deserves, you know, just what she gets as well, right? But I was pretty sad. I was honestly pretty sad, like the whole week and up after that vote, you know, like. Just seeing her walk out of there, it was pretty heartbreaking. I felt good after, right? When it was time to game, I was ready to game, right? That was when I was feeling good. I'm like, let's get back into Big Brother. All right. But up until that point, I was just like, this sucks. I was like, this sucks. Like, she's my friend. I want her to be here. And now she's gone at essentially the hands of me. Right. Like not entirely, but you know, I'm part of the reason that she's going home. So it was just like a row of things that really kind of made me upset. But you know, I was feeling good after that, you know, for a variety of reasons. I was feeling good after that comp, you know?
So you win the safety chain competition, and you have to make the first pick. Did you ever think about picking anybody other than Herman?
Yes, I was actually looking at Kevin, and I wanted Kevin to pick Herman because I wanted not my alliances to be shown, which is obviously what the chain of safety does. And I was looking at Kevin and I'm like, Kevin, pick Herman. He's like, what? I'm like, pick Herman, like next to you. And he just like didn't really understand. And again, had I picked Kevin, who knows? He might have done something super chaotic and just been like Jess, you know, like I don't know. But I actually wanted to pick Kevin. Like if you like, I know you guys have already had your conversation, but if you ask him, I was looking at him, I'm like, yo, Kev, like I was trying to get him to pick Herman so that way him and maybe I could just be absolved of like, you know, not saying it, like saying random names, right? That didn't matter. And maybe it would have helped us work together down the line. Who knows? But my two priorities in the chain of safety were number one, keep my people safe, that being Herman and Josh primarily, and then Betty and Summer afterwards, while also finding a way for Jess to be the person that's left over, because they targeted me, they targeted T, they targeted Herman. Like they tried to get rid of, you know, our group that we were working together with. So one of them, like my main priority was obviously keeping us safe, but I'm like, as I was sitting there, as soon as Arissa said what it was, and you know, she kept explaining, I was like, okay, I need to think. So I'm like, okay, Herman picks Josh, or if I pick Josh, he picks Herman. Herman picks Summer or Betty. That makes sense. Summer, I was like, will Summer pick Kevin? I was like, Summer will pick Kevin. They worked like, because they were hanging out all the time. They had a really good relationship, you know, like Toronto, like they were just always talking. So I'm like, okay, if I pick Herman, Josh, he'll pick Josh. Josh will pick one of Betty or Summer. If it's Betty, I don't know where she goes. If it's Summer, it's probably Kevin. If it's Kevin, it's probably Marty. Okay, you're overthinking this. That's literally where I stopped. I'm like, you're not that big brain. Let's just pick Herman and whatever happens, happens. But I was like, that's kind of inevitably what happened, right? Like I picked him and then Josh had picked Betty and Summer had picked Kevin and Kevin picked Marty. I was like, oh my God, like this is great. And then Marty is like on the borderline trying to pick like Helena or whatever, or Helena or Jess. And I knew that him and Jess had a thing. And then he picks Helena. And I'm like, this is perfect because Jess is also facing off against two people that are extremely competitive. You know, like Gino had won a competition already. Jace had won a competition already. So I was like, hey, these two people have won comps. They know what it's like to win competitions. So especially Jace had won it on the block. I'm like, this is a best case scenario. Now Jess is facing off against two people that have already won comps. So it was like a win-win in saving my people, as well as, you know, having Jess have a tough time trying to win that ping pong ball competition.
Yeah. And then we have I guess if you haven't watched the safety chain episode, but you obviously heard about the attempted flip on Gino. You know, it kind of starts with Kevin and then Marty kind of says no. And then Josh and Betty are talking about it and it kind of rekindles and they almost do it. But Betty sees Marty on the other couch looking like he doesn't want to do it. And so she calls it off last minute. Yeah. But Marty still thinks it's on. Yeah. And so a couple of votes come through, Marty and Helena, who are sitting on the other couch. And then Kevin, Josh, and Betty are like, okay, we know not to do it. And so Gino stays. If you had caught wind of this, if they had approached you about your vote, you were very enthusiastic about keeping Gino, obviously. I don't imagine that you would have jumped on board.
Oh, heck no. And I would have blown up their spot immediately. If they tried bringing that up to me, I've been like, yo, what is going on? It's a good thing they didn't bring me into that room, because I was like, I was in the pantry, obviously, at that time. I'm like, don't worry, Gino's safe and everything. If they're like, yo, Moose, like, what do you think? I've been like, what? Herman. I've been like, Herman, come catch this right now. What's going on here? I would have been distraught if that had happened. And it's funny because as enthusiastic as my vote was, I was thinking about rogue voting as well. Cause I saw it as a guarantee. But Josh was saying to Summer, are we playing Moose and Herman's game? Right? Like that was something that he had mentioned to her. That's why she felt where she was like, what? Like, not really. Like, I want to get rid of Jess as well. Like, what do you mean? Are we playing their game? So I really, like, genuinely, while I was sitting on the couch, I'm like, yo, should I rogue right now? Like, I feel like a rogue vote's a part of the fun of Big Brother. But then I'm like, nah, that'd be dumb. But had I done that, it would have caused even more chaos.
Oh, yeah.
You know? But I was like, I can't risk it. I was like, I can't. That was the way I saw it. I was like, I can't risk it right now. I can't make, you know what I mean? I can't. What if I put this rogue vote and 4 other people rogue vote, or whatever the number needed to be? I think it was 4 or 5. I'm like, what if all these other people rogue vote? You know, that was the way I saw it, right? Because it was so quick. So part of me wanted to do it, but I was like, nah, let me just stick to the script. You know, don't play this clean, Moose. Like you made this happen, play it clean, make sure it happens. But part of me wishes I did, because I almost even got in trouble for it. Where Gino was like, was it you and Herman? I'm like, no, it wasn't me or Herman, man. Are you kidding me? Like, stop with this foolishness.
Oh man. So yeah, then there's the big hunt for like who did it. There's a small attempt to try and blame you, but when Marty admits to his vote, it's like, okay, so it wasn't Moose and Herman, obviously.
Yeah.
And then, you know, people are kind of able to read on Helena that it was probably her. And so things are looking much better for you, because like if that hadn't happened, then like Betty and Josh are still probably in the clear with Marty, and Kevin's probably gonna be Jess's HOH 2.0, and it's probably you and Herman straight up, or at least that probably would have been the attempt. Although I will say, talking to Kevin, he felt a lot better about you this week, coming out of, you know, saving Tanisha. Might have tried for a different pawn at that point. But either way, things are looking good because it's Josh and Betty. Now, obviously not that good, because you're working with Josh. You don't know at this time that he is not loyal to you. So, but it's looking like Betty's going to go, right? Like Betty's the target. And that's, you know, it's not great for your game, but it's not terrible for your game either. You haven't been working that closely with Betty, right?
Yeah, definitely. That was like, it was like she was an alliance member. I hated seeing both of them on the block. I genuinely was distraught about that. And then it was like, but I'm like, yeah, I guess, you know, like decisions need to be made, right?
But then Gino doesn't spell nominees correctly. He spells nominize, and then Kevin ends up using the veto on Josh, and Herman goes up, and this is not great.
No. It's not great. And it's funny because this was the beginning of my mind opening of Schemer Kev. And I was like, I realized this while I was on the block in week 7. I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think they were working together. I just thought that Kev he so smartly quelled his, you know, working with Josh by getting Herman to be put up. Like, that's what also made it so brilliant. But I was like, damn, because I promised my vote to Marty. That was my problem. You know, I promised him my vote because of everything that happened. I was like, look, man, I saved you. Like, I didn't save you, but I kind of saved you in the chain of safety. You know what I mean? A little bit by association. So how else can I earn your trust? That was like my biggest thing with Marty, because I did inevitably at that point, I was kind of on an island with people trusting me. And I thought I had Josh. I thought I had Herman. They didn't vote for me the week before. So my relationship was still a little fractured with them. I was still a little upset. So I was like a free agent at that point, trying to figure out who wanted to work with me. And I was like, Marty is a winner, won this week. So let me try to work with something with him. I'm going to promise him my vote, which again was another problem that bit me in the butt.
Yeah. Herman makes a valiant attempt to get the votes. He has the votes for a night, but then things flip back, and this is really like the beginning of the end. Obviously, you're gonna be out pretty soon. But not only are you losing Herman here, you're also in a spot where now Betty and Josh are making a Final Four with Gino and Jace, which is making things even worse. And you head into to week 7 pretty much just on your own. It's not looking great.
Honestly, it's two things, like going into that week, right? Again, even like me, I tried to keep Herman around. Like I pitched the whole Final 5 with Gino and Jace. Like I was really putting in work for him, but then because of everything that happened the week before, and he really just didn't give me his vote, I was like, how much does this guy actually care about me? Like we do like each other, but am I going to really work this hard and throw my game essentially just to keep him around? Because that's what I would have done. I would have had to really like go out on a limb. But yeah, going into that week, I was like, you know what? This is Big Brother. I get that you're not supposed to be on the block, but if I want to, it goes back to the thinking and mentality in week 3 that I was put up, right? Week 3. Yeah. I was like, I need to, if I want to win this game, I need to continue winning comps as well. I didn't see, again, comp beast wasn't the whole thing in my mind. I really never felt that way. I just I liked people who were competitors because I'm a person who competes. So, but some people that wasn't their game plan, which I also really respected. But I was like, if I'm going to stay here, let me win. I was like, let me pull myself off the block again. I don't care. I'm down, whatever. We had the buzzkill situation. So our HOH was pushed back a little bit. So Gino had told me the morning of, like an hour before the noms. So I was like, okay. And I felt like I maybe could have convinced him to put up Josh. Obviously they had their little final four, but I'm a finesser when it comes to my words. So I definitely this was the thing I wanted to say to him and I didn't say it. And it's still in my head to this day. And I think this is my one thing, right? Like, what's the one thing? This is my one thing I wish I did. I was like, look, Josh had a final 2 with Herman. Josh had a final 3 with Herman and I. Decided to cut both of us, and he cut Herman back last week. Didn't even vote for me the week that I was up. Do you really think that you can trust this person? Because he would have been like, oh, I don't want to put up Josh. I'm like, listen, man, I will be benefit to you. I have nobody to work with right now. I want to work with the showmans. You two are my main priority. I will literally take you to the end. I promise you. Believe me, Gino, you put up Josh this week. Worst case scenario, we don't win the power of veto. We don't get to backdoor Marty. At least Josh goes home. You won't lose me. I am going to be of value to you. I promise you. Trust me. I'll be a bigger, this was the whole pitch I wanted to give Gino. But I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm like, am I really going to start sit here, desperately trying to change his mind? Because Gino's a very decisive person, right? So I was like, 30 minutes before the nomination is not the time to try to convince him. That was the way I saw it as well, where it's like, if I did all that as well, Gino would have been like, I want to get rid of this guy. Actually, he's my target now. Why did you just come here and do all that right before the noms? So that was why I was like, let me win. I was like, whatever, put me on the block. Let me win this power of veto. Let's execute this plan. I want to be somebody that did this and made this plan happen as a part of my resume if I make it to final 2 and say, I did that, by the way, So that was, I kind of not gave up, but kind of took a back seat in terms of trying to convince him. I was like, let me just see if I can win the power of veto. And, away we went.
Hey, well, I mean, it would have been interesting. I think at the time of initial noms, they Jason, Gino were still pretty firmly in with Josh and Betty. They still kind of trusted them.
Exactly.
But they were clearly I think by the time that, Helena won the veto, they were already kind of thinking, maybe we'd rather go with Kevin and Helena. Because at that point, Josh had already spilled and Kevin had started to get to work. And so they were clearly open to the idea of not working with Josh and Betty. But and I think at the time I was saying I thought they were making a mistake, not only by targeting Marty in the first place. I didn't think they should be doing that, but also in taking you out instead. When it really Josh was a much bigger threat to their game. If Josh had been left on the block, obviously I don't know that Josh leaves there. I think Kevin and Helena definitely are going to think about it. They're going to be like, maybe we should take Josh out. But losing you, because you had been trying to work with them, you've been making pitches with Jason Gino before. Herman had been trying to work with them. You were always on that same page. And you were very much this sort of free agent at this point. Didn't really have any super deep ties or loyalties to anybody. Willing to jump on board with anybody that would take you. And I think that's why ultimately when the veto's not used, your pitch is one that really gets to a couple of people. Betty's pretty firmly on board at one point. You even got Helena to flip at one point. Helena went to Kevin, was like, I think maybe we should keep Moose. And Kevin was like, no, he's too good. He's too good. So yeah, I mean, it was open for people, for somebody to take you and grab you and use you, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen. And you know what? I just had I known things, other things, again, I was pitching one-on-one, right? I should have pitched to Kevin and Helena at the same time, not knowing, obviously, right? If I had both of them in a room and was just yo, not even to say that they were working together, but just be listen, let me talk to both of you right now. This is what it is. I wish I just maybe had two, at least pitched to two people once, because I never did. I only pitched individually to everybody. I never pitched to two people at one time during that whole time. I thought I had Jace as a lock. That was the other thing too. I thought Jace was a lock to vote for me. So that was what I was basing my whole campaign off of. you know, I touched the flower pot where the secret power of Vito was, like, you know, that was, I know I don't know if I am excited or not excited to watch that, because I'm standing over it. I touch it. I look at it. I'm like, you know, it was definitely, I knew I was very close to finding it, but I didn't. So, and, you know, it was just like, that was the way the game folded, man. Like, I wanted to win that veto anyway. The secret power or whatever. I wanted to win that veto to prove myself even further that it's like, this guy's pulled himself off the block twice now, and he's executing this plan to backdoor Marty. Like, heck yeah. Like, this is a game player. So I'm happy that I went out like that, honestly. Like, again, it's a game of strategy, and I should have strategized more, but I was down to play to earn safety. Like, that was the way I saw it in my mind. And I was like, let me play. Like, I'm down to play. This is Big Brother. Like, whatever, and I'm happy I went out like that, as opposed to or like the way Herman did, right? Like, that's just brutal, where he was promised safety for the week from Marty and got backdoored. Like, that would suck. That would be way worse.
Yeah. So yeah, but Jace gets that veto and then doesn't use it, even though the plan had been to take it. They changed their minds. It's a rough draw, and that's going to be it for your game. You head to the jury. You meet up with Herman. What is the jury like?
Honestly, jury was fun, but still stressful.
Yeah.
It was a blast. You know, we got to hang out and, you know, watch movies and play games and stuff like that. I almost went undefeated in foosball, but Herman finally beat me once. But jury house was a lot of fun, man. Herms was so game mode. Like, he was just on every time a new person would come in. He just, oh my God, and this and this and this. No way, I felt this. Like, he was really feeling it, and like, I felt that way a little bit, but I was getting the information as I was in these conversations, but I kind of knew where my vote was going to go based on the information that was coming every single week. So I was like, okay, like, Jace went out. What happened? Boom, boom, boom. I was taken out by this person. This person got rid of me. This person won HOH. This person won power. And I was in an alliance with these people. Oh, I had the secret power of veto. These big tidbits of information was kind of what I was going to use to, you know, make my vote. And obviously, just being in the house, you just overhear all of these other conversations that are constantly happening. And again, Gino was very beat up about the gummy bear thing, right? So he was telling us about that, and he like was having trouble sleeping for a little bit. Like, it was a lot. But for me, I was, not that I was over it, but I definitely had come to terms with why I had left, and knowing that I was just like a good player, and that's why people wanted to get rid of me. Based on, I didn't get my goodbye messages at that time, but when I did see them, I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I'm not that beat up about it, whatever. But for, you know, week 8 being right there, right? Like, you know, Jace was just around that corner. Like, I that sucks. And I just almost didn't resonate with what it was like to be in a final 5 or final 4, because I was in final 9, right? Like, I was still a ways away, but for these people, they were like, yeah, I was a final 4. I'm like, damn, like,
yeah,
it sucked a lot more for them than it did for me. But yeah, jury house was a lot of fun, you know, and getting to hang out with people a little bit longer, you know, spending time. But you know, when it came to finale time, we were definitely ready. We were ready to go. We're ready to go and make our decision that night.
Yeah,
for sure.
So what was interesting is that Herman left the game like Kevin's the least likely to get my vote. I think he told me 0% chance Kevin gets my vote. Didn't really see Kevin's game. You came out and you were like, I think Kevin's really underrated. And and as you mentioned, you had started to see it. Did you have conversations with Herman about Kevin?
We did. Yeah. We talked about Kevin, and you know, it was one of the things I talked about. I was like, I don't think Kevin's married. That's what I said when we were in jury house. I'm like, I don't think Kevin's married. I'm like, look, either Jillian. So we found out Jillian was real because of the families thing, right? When Jace came, told us about the family thing. So I'm like, Jillian is real. So I was like, they're date, or like they've been together for a while. They're definitely not married. That was my thing. Cause I'm like, I just kept thinking about Kevin's game and things he said to me and all this stuff. I'm like, it's a rubber ring. There's no way this man is married, like that. And then that opened a whole door of like, this guy is a scheming son of a gun. Damn. So I was like, it really opened my eyes to like what Kevin had the potential to do. And hearing about all these other things, like when Summer came in and Summer was like, me and Kevin weren't that close and we had this and that. I'm like, what do you mean, bro? I swear you and Kevin were like gonna have I forget, I guess I had a final 2, you know, that's what it was. And then Helena came, and that's when really the floodgates opened up, the crash test dummies and the ghosts and the votes and I was like, whoa. So it was, you know, kind of trying to, at that time when I had came out, I was just like, is Kevin somebody that I really haven't been thinking about this whole time? And then he just became somebody I thought about this whole time. And I respected his game more and more as other people kept coming into the house every single week. Marty talking about the backdoor decision with Herman, using the power veto, protecting Josh. It was like, whoa, he did all of these things behind closed doors. It's crazy to me. He was fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah, there's a good clip about Kevin and using the marriage here.
Marty is an emotional guy, and we've really bonded over being the only 2 married men in this house. The only issue is that I'm not actually married.
Oh my God, that guy. Oh my God, that's so funny. I'm literally like, my Kevin impression is really good. So it's like, it's funny to me when I hear his voice, because I'm like, I'm not even sure that I want to keep Josh this week, but inevitably Jillian won't be mad.
Yes. Oh so, man. Yeah. Do you have any other ones?
Oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, the Kevin is pretty good. Yeah, you know, Gino. Gino likes to make his decisions like that. You know, he's not sure about what he's gonna do this week, but yeah, Gino's one's okay. Marty, of course, is easy, but I'm not sure what I want to do with my HOH this week, but I know that they backdoor me, so I'm going to make sure that I get revenge on both of them, even though he never got backdoored. But those are my ones that are on lock.
If any of your house guests need to backdoor a 43-year-old man with a bad knee and bad shoulders, I don't think that you guys would be worthy of being called a Big Brother winner.
So funny, man. Oh my gosh. I love it. Yeah, my Marty's pretty good, but my Kevin is like the best one. Gino's got time. The rest of them are like 80% of the way. They're not fully ready for you know, the public, but they're pretty good. Mm-hmm. They're pretty good.
Okay. So all right. Let's see. You did also one of my favorite clips of you was yeah, baby.
Oh, that was when I was doing the POV.
Yep.
You know what? I was chirping hard during that comp. I wasn't even chirping, actually. I was just having a lot of fun, because I was like, you know what? If I'm going to go out, I might as well have fun. So it didn't show a lot of it. I watched the episode, but I was like talking to Josh the whole time. I was like, hey, Josh, how many balls you got over there? He's like, I'm at 4 right now. I was like, yo, slow down. I'm at 3. I'm going to catch up. And then I caught up, and I'm like, okay, you can go harder now. You can go faster. And then I'd be yelling at Steph, and Steph was like, it won't go around the corner. And I'm like, Steph, you know, you can't turn left at a red light, you know, like I would like say things like that. I'm like, you know, I was cheering Betty on because Betty was having a lot of struggles. I was really enjoying myself there during that comp. And that partially could be the reason why I won, because I was actually there. I was just having a lot of fun. I was like yelling at Gino across the room. I'm like, it's okay, bro. You don't have to quell this fire, man. It's all good. Like, I was just really enjoying myself. So that, yeah, baby was a part of that, you know. I was just enjoying it. Like, I'd slide one on and I'd be like, hey, let's go. Like, yeah, I was having a lot of fun, which I should have. Every time I had fun during the comps, I did well, you know. Like, I had fun the first one because it was the first one. I had fun during bowling because I bowl. So I was like, let me bowl. I'm down. And then I had fun during that POV. All the other ones, I was like, so intense, you know. I was like, oh, I gotta wait. Like, I was so focused during Shopper Showcase. I like celebrated not at all. Betty was like going crazy. I'm like sitting there. I'm like, higher, lower, you know. Like, if I had maybe a little bit more fun, I maybe would have won that tiebreaker. Who knows? But yeah, that was definitely a fun clip and a fun comp.
Yes. Okay. What about some of the other finalists? If like say, because just in terms of, I guess, in terms of the perspective of the jury, what was your perspective on like Helena's game?
So at that point, it was almost the same thing as Kevin, right? Where it was like they had been like they were scheming, and Helena's votes were really important. Helena won a power of veto, right? Like, didn't, you know, although she didn't use it, like it was, you know, I think she'd won another comp after that, if I'm not mistaken, or
she won 2 vetoes. She won the final 5 veto as well.
Exactly. So she'd won 2 vetoes up until that point, right? So I was like, she's built herself something kind of nice right now. You know, she hasn't been on the block. You know, now that was the other thing too. She hadn't been on the block, which is impressive in its own right. Although that people were writing off Helena as like, not competitor or can't win or doesn't matter if she goes up, that sort of thing. But she was making big moves with Kevin, making big decisions with Josh when they were working together, won vetoes, near the end, which were really important. So I just saw her game as slowly gaining more and more value. But at the time in jury, I was a little bit salty because she was like crying to me before I left, being like, Gino didn't convince me to use the veto. I wish you had stayed. I'm so sorry. And at that time, I thought it was crocodile tears. And I told her this, and I was like, come on. But then Helena came in and really explained, and she was like, no, like I actually was trying to keep you. And I actually was sad that you were going because I thought it was jury management at the time, cause I'm like, you're crying. I was like, you're crying to me about like, I barely spoke to her during my campaign. Like I spoke to her twice. I was like, you didn't care that much, right? Like, did you, you know what I mean? So, but I found out afterwards that she actually was being genuine with it. So, and at the time in jury, I was a little salty, and had she been in final two, it would have been a salty vote, but I would have needed somebody to be like, yo, I would have had to ask her, you know what I mean? I would have been like, were you actually being truthful? Is this actually the truth? And let's say Kevin had come in the house, he would have been like, yo, Helena actually was trying to get me to flip to keep you. Then it would have been like affirmed all of these things that I was skeptical of. So I was getting more and more impressed with Helena's game as things had gone on. I was a little salty though, before kind of everything was brought to my attention.
Yeah. It definitely seems like that was an issue, like in terms of like the way that Kevin played the game, which was very like, he always tried to make it fun. Even when he was turning on you.
He was having a great time. You saw that, eh? He was enjoying himself.
Yes. I think that helped. I think that helped with the jury.
Yeah, exactly. And it did. I think it did, man. He was doing so well jury management without even worrying about it. Like he was doing it without doing it. And that was also really impressive, right? Like he made us feel comfortable. He made us feel like he didn't want to get rid of us, right? Even though he did, like he was never the mastermind behind it. I was always somebody else's fault. And he was just there kind of like catching wind of it, which made his jury management, again, even more impressive. Like I was like, wow. I love Kevin. I want Kevin to win. I wanted Marty to win though. I won't lie. I did want Marty to win. I actually cried when he came into jury house, believe it or not, Taran. I was like very sad.
Oh man.
I was pretty distraught. I wanted him to win. The guy was like just competing so hard and doing his thing, and he was going to get backdoored that week. And I'm like, I love Marty. I'm like, I want this guy to win so badly for his family, for him, for how much he loves the game. And then he came into the house. I was like, Marty, I can't believe you're here. Like I was like crying, and Hermana's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm not okay right now.
Oh man. So Marty came in and you were like,
hurt, dare, you friggin' hurt me. Yeah. That was personal.
Yeah, that's exactly. I was hurt right there. Right there, I was hurt when I saw Marty. I was really sad when I saw him. Like, I mean, him, Gino, and Summer, the three people I actually did want to go the whole way. Like, that was the way I was like, Gino, Summer, and Marty. Like, I want them to go as far as they can. So I think it was all of them as well. But like, it was specifically seeing Marty that I was just like, oh my God, I was really invested in him winning for that whole week that I was in the house, or that I was in jury house. And I was like, and then he showed up. I was like, dang, like nothing goes right in this game.
You just reminded me of I didn't prepare this one. Hold on. There's a great clip from you because I took you up on this.
I am 1000% sure that Marty was the secret power of veto holder. I would put all of the money that I've ever made in my life on it.
Okay, so I take that back. Okay, that's not signed. It's not signed. Is it anywhere, Taran?
I'm pretty sure I made a verbal contract with you on the podcast after that episode.
We're gonna have to take that to court, but I don't remember. I don't remember seeing anything. I was so confident, man. Because Marty was doing his Marty I'm lying thing, where he ran away from everybody, went straight to the backyard. I was going to the backyard just to go, and he was peering over his shoulder, looking at me as I was walking to the backyard, and started walking faster. I was like, whatever. And then I go and I'm going to put my coat on. Didn't even want to ask him about the secret power veto because I didn't care, because I didn't know it existed and I didn't expect it to be the reason why I stayed. Right. So I was like, whatever. And then Marty immediately turns to me and goes, who do you think had the power of veto? It wasn't me, man. I was like, oh my God, bro. You might as well draw it on a wall at this point. You're seriously that's the first thing you're going to say to me as I'm like, which I get it, right? It just happened, but he just had that like guilty look on his face, which is why I was like, it had to be Marty, but obviously it wasn't. I was so sure it was that specifically. It wasn't the fact that it wasn't used. It was the fact that, I went to like, he was like peering behind, being all sketchy, and like brought it up and kept on talking about it with me, which again is something he does. Like he verbalizes when he was like not telling the truth, like with Gino's vote, for example. It's like, I'm super pissed off. I'm pissed off. I can't believe this would happen. And everyone's like, dude, we're having breakfast, man. Like, why are you pissed off about this Gino thing right now? Like, it's not the time, type of thing. So it was that more so than the fact that it wasn't used that made me believe it was 1000% Marty. Had he not done that, I would have thought it was somebody else. I would have been like, I wouldn't have known. I actually wouldn't have known, but I wouldn't have thought it was Marty if he had been, because he loves the game so much, right? So he would have been like, that's so cool. Like there was a secret power. Like he would have been jumping off the walls because of how cool it was, because he loves the game, right? So that was definitely, I was very sure it was my guy, but it wasn't.
It wasn't. No. All right. What now? What are you gonna do now?
Man, honestly, right now, I do need some time to relax. I have been go. But, I am a content creator. I work in social media. I work in, videos, doing that sort of thing. So I might be getting up my Moose Media page soon on Instagram. It already exists there. I have like a bunch of interviews and stuff. I used to host music festivals, like online music festivals before, like during COVID and everything. But I'm going to be starting an interview series hopefully soon. I'm going to be getting a job, in social media, working in this field that I love so much. But I want to do, I was doing on-air stuff before this and hosting things. So that's kind of the road I'm going to go down, and just try to create more fun, amazing content for people to watch and enjoy, with hopefully my face if they like it and they enjoyed it during the game, so that's my plan right now. I'm just going to kind of relax for a little bit, continue to cool down from this house, because even though it's been a month since we've been out, like not even, it's like been 3 weeks. Yeah. I still feel weird, being in the real world. It's still, even though I've been to concerts and I've been out and I go to like, it's still, I'm like, ooh, like I just don't kind of fully resonate with what's going on a day-to-day basis. So relaxing a little bit, then getting straight back to the grind, right back to the work. Hopefully a new show coming out soon. We'll see what happens. So yeah. I'm excited.
Are you gonna keep up with Big Brother now?
I am going to watch Big Brother now. I want to watch season 9. I'm probably going to watch all of the seasons like over the next few years. I'm not a binge watcher, so it will take me probably 5 years to finish all of these seasons. I do really want to watch season 9 because of all the drama I've heard about. So I'm very keen. Otherwise, from here on out, man, I'm going to be Big Brother aficionado. I'm definitely going to be watching all of the seasons moving forward. I'm excited to see who's going to come next year. Maybe up our year by one, up the ante, make it a little bit more spicy. Who knows? But I am going to be a Big Brother guy now, for sure.
Well, I mean, honestly, like you've started it at one of the highest points. Your season is definitely one of the best. So it only goes down from there. But it's still fun. It's still fun.
And we want it to get better, right? We want it to get better. We need it to be, a little bit, every year needs to up the last year. But hey, listen, if our season ends up being one of the best forever, like, hey, I'm cool with that. I was there. I lived it. It was fun.
There you go. Hopefully we'll chat again. Maybe you can come on. We'll talk about Big Brother next year.
Yeah, that would be lovely, Taran. That'd be lovely. I would love to do that, man. Shout out to the podcast. You already know I appreciate being here. And we'll chat soon. My guy.
You were my number one draft pick, Moose. You were my guy.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And people have come up to me and said this, man. They're like, we did a pool and you were my number one pick. I'm like, damn. I was, you know what? Listen, I wasn't a number one pick that became a superstar, but like, I'm a role player off the bench. That's the way I see myself. I'm serviceable. I'm still making contracts in the league. That's the way I see it, right? Like I wasn't a bust, but I definitely didn't make it as far as I should have, but that's okay.
The way I saw it was like, I think I recognized the potential that you had, maybe with a little more like background in Big Brother, a little more Big Brother knowledge, you would have been a lot more dangerous.
I think so, man. I think if I had just if I studied the game tape, again, it's like a sport, I had just studied the game tape a little bit more, I might have not been as, keen to be not knowledgeable, I guess. But man, I'm appreciative that people like thought that I was going to do like good. And, man, I made it to jury and I'm really happy about that. So It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Well, thank you for talking to me, man.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Taran.